Hello and welcome back to Break Check. This episode is going to be covering a recap of the fall major for the 22-23 season. And let's just get right into it. So it was a Swiss stage that funneled into a top 8 playoff bracket, just like we saw throughout the fall split regionals in each respective region. And this time, obviously, international competition. So we'll just roll right through here. The Swiss stage, the thing that I want to get across here is, and you can see it as one of the topics later on, the global strength of Rocket League. At the moment, it's insane. It's better than it's ever been, and I guess that makes sense because players and teams are going to continue to get better as more time goes on. But right now, it's just really brutal, and there are going to be teams that don't make it through the Swiss stage that you would anticipate to make it. So with that being said, let's just glance through it real quick. Round 1, V1 taking down Quadrant, Gen.G over Power, Oxygen over G2, Club over KCP, Space Station with a tight Game 5 win over Falcons, KC over Gen.G, Moist taking down FaZe, and Team Liquid take down Team Secret. Now, we look at that, we think, not too bad. I think that's probably about how I would expect things to go, and maybe a slight upset here or there, but either way, not too surprising. Round number 2, Oxygen 3-0 Gen.G. A little bit of surprise there. I don't think I would expect that from the number 1 seed in NA, but Oxygen, if you watched, they were incredible throughout Swiss stage. If you haven't watched, you need to, because that was some of the most fun Rocket League to watch. We got V1 and Liquid in a Game 5 thriller. Same thing with Moist. And then Karmy Corp take down Space Station in a 3-1 fashion. And man, you look at this. This is just a stacked round. This is round 2. Round 2 high matches. Unbelievable. We come over to round 2 lower matches. We got Falcons taking out Gen.G's. Power! That's correct, folks. You see that right. Power take down G2 3-0. Unbelievable stuff from Power. They really showed the prowess that they have. They showed the potential that they have in this most recent major. We've got Team Secret taking Quadrant down 3-0, and Team Secret is one you need to go ahead and make a mental note of because Team Secret went absolutely crazy this event. FaZe, they take down Kansas City Pioneers, the OCE roster, 3-0, and unfortunately, you will need to take note of KCP as well because they had an abysmal event. I mean, if we look at this, they get 3-0 by Club, they get 3-0 by FaZe, and we'll go ahead and bounce to the round 3 lower matches, and they got 3-0 by Quadrant. Pioneers definitely had a rough event. You know, we got to call it what it is. That is underperforming. That is not good, and I think that they would say the same. I do hope that this kind of inspires them and like reinvigorates them a little bit. Not that they were lacking any enthusiasm or anything, but I hope that this doesn't have a negative impact on them. Hope they're able to use it as fuel to bounce back and come back stronger in the next international events throughout the season. G2 do finally bounce back against Gen.G, but I want to look at this because, we got an OT game, okay? We've got a 1-goal game where Gen.G scored 3 times. And, I'm not trying to belittle Gen.G, but APAC, as a region, they just haven't had the infrastructure as long, and the competition is not as high of a level. And I think we all know that. It's not here or there. It's just what it is. And, I know it's a 3-0, but this is a little bit tight. G2, I think they would have expected to play a little bit better, have a little bit more command of the series when playing a team like Gen.G. But either way, a little concerning there. We'll see how G2 continues throughout the rest of the event. Power, they take down Club. Power on a freaking roll. A lot of people, including myself, had Club top 8. Power just really doing their thing. And then we got Team Secret, another team that I mentioned just a moment ago. Look at them taking down Space Station 3-1. Incredible stuff. Gen.G, they bounce back. They take down Falcons 3-1. And then FaZe, in this round 3 mid-matches, they take down Team Liquid 3-2. We have Oxygen absolutely smacking V1 3-0 and Karmy Corp 3-0 against Moist. And this is, I think, the second time or potentially the third time this fall split that KC has beaten Moist in RLCS matches. And so they seem to have Moist number. But once again, make a quick mental note of that as we move through this podcast here. Let's take a look at round number 4. Let's look at the high matches first. We got V1 finally putting a halt to the Power I don't know, rampage that they were on. They were knocking out anyone and everyone in their path, and V1 finally said, that's enough. Team Secret, look at them clutching up. They go through the Swiss stage in a 3-1 fashion, taking down Moist. Unbelievable. This is, okay, we're going to get to this, okay? We're going to get to this later with the global strength, but Team Secret is the second seed from Sam, all right? Club won every event in the fall split. Team Secret had to play a tiebreaker with Crew to even make it to the event. All right? And now let's also remember that Complexity was from Sam and they moved. Furia from Sam and they moved. Now, just make note of that and keep that in your mind as we move to this global strength topic later on in the show. Gen.G, 3-0 over FaZe to conclude those round 4 high matches. That means at the moment we have Oxygen, Karmine Corp, V1, Team Secret, and Gen.G who have all qualified into the next round. Eliminated teams at this current moment are James Cheese, KCP, and then we also see Club, unfortunately eliminated in round 4, going 1-3. Quadrant, same thing, and Falcons as well. That's a tough run. You know, it's a tough run. I think, or maybe I shouldn't say a tough run because at this point, you know, you got to be able to beat these teams. And quite honestly, I think Club, this is a favorable matchup. They should be beating Power. I think Club can. You know, this is not the worst draw ever. I think they can beat Space Station. But, you know, at some point, you gotta be able to do it. And I think the same is true for Club, Falcons, and Quadrant. A 1-3 performance in Swiss is not great. I think Club and Falcons, at the very least, would expect to do better. And I think Quadrant certainly can if they were playing their best. So, with that being said, you know, I do want to see Club and Falcons at another international event. I want to see them have another crack at it. But, you know, this fall major didn't go as planned. And, you know, sometimes that's how it's going to go. That's kind of what I was talking about earlier with this global strength. And we've got some more being knocked out. We're not done just yet. Team Liquid, they do knock out Power in Game 5. And I want to pull this one up because, whoa. Power almost complete the reverse sweep. Liquid grabbed the first 2. Power go on a tear, and they take the next 2. And that Game 5 was a tight one. Liquid win it by 1. FaZe knock out Space Station, and Moist knock out G2. So we've got a top 8 at an international event. No G2, no Space Station, no Falcons, no Club, no Quadrant, no Power. All right? And I know that those last 2 may not be huge surprises, but at the very least, these are all competitive rosters. And at this point, they can't even make it through the first stage of the event. And that's not to say, you know, that's not to bash or to try to shine a negative light. It's just to show really how much growth RLCS is experiencing. Like, I think that we haven't fully grasped how much Rocket League is being played at the professional level. There are so many games, and these players are improving at such a rapid rate. Because of that, they're gaining experience faster. They're getting more repetitions, both mechanically and, you know, like mentally, as far as a competitor, being in tough situations, being in good situations, and favorable, non-favorable, being in a, you know, having a lead, coming from behind with a deficit. You know, these players are, I mean, they're just getting so many more repetitions, and they're improving at like I said, a very rapid rate. And as a consumer, as a viewer, it's obviously a lot of fun because these players are just incredible to watch. So let's jump to the next topic, quarterfinals. And as you can see, we got Team Secret. Team Secret popping into the quarterfinals, and they don't stop there. They go 4-1 over V1. Look at them. Unbelievable. We did have a 7-minute, 19-second overtime. It was a thriller. It was a lot of fun. But Team Secret, for me, is the highlight up until this point, the highlight of the event. Wow, that has got to feel good. Now, you see, I say no KC. Karmine Corp does not move forward from the quarterfinals, and I said it earlier in the show. Moist finally getting some revenge here in this 22-23 season. Karmine Corp has had their number, and they have won the majority, if not, and I can't remember, Moist may have beaten them once early in the split, but Karmine Corp has had the advantage for sure, had their number, and more times than not had command over the series against Moist, and I know that it felt good for Moist to get that win against Karmine Corp and their former teammate, Vatira. So, we got Oxygen and FaZe Clan, and this was one of the most wacky series of the event, And it was high-level gameplay. It was not poor gameplay, so not wacky in that sense. But these first two games were so in favor of Oxygen. They were so one-sided. The players were laughing. They were pre-jumping. They were playing the way that you see players at like in Game 5 when they're up 5-0 with a minute left, right? And it's just carefree and nothing matters. And you can see it on the other side, too. You can see it with FaZe. FaZe was kind of, they're down and slumped and there's no energy. I mean, it really did look like the series was over. And I know it's 2 games in, and obviously now that we know in hindsight that FaZe won, that's a silly claim to make. But it really was. It was that one-sided where you were just like, holy cow. Is Oxygen just going to 4-0 sweep? Like, this is insane. And then we see the timeout called by FaZe. Coach Roldiz had a few words to say, and apparently it had a pretty big impact. FaZe, they grabbed the next 2. Oxygen, they say, hold on. All right, we leveled it up. We're going to time out right here. We're going to talk about things. Coach Billy for Oxygen had a few words to say, and it helped them out as well. They got that 3-0 victory following a timeout, but they could only slow down the FaZe momentum. They could not stop it. FaZe take Neo Tokyo and Champions Field in Game 6 and 7 to move forward into the top 4. And then last but certainly not least, we had a Game 7 incredible series here from Team Liquid and Gen.G. And I talked about this a little bit on my stream today, but we see, obviously, Team Liquid goes up to Gen.G, call their timeout, and they grab a win, and then they fall once more right here. So now Gen.G out of timeouts, down 3-1, facing elimination. And this is what I said today. I said, look, if the script is flipped, and let's say it's Gen.G up 3-1, and Liquid had already burned their timeout, I wouldn't have much faith in Liquid making that comeback, nor would I have much faith in many of the RLCS teams. But Gen.G, and this is just as an outsider looking in, my perspective on the situation, they seem like a very mature team. It seems like Aleutian is a great coach and probably is just really good at, helping keep their emotions up if they do slack a little bit. But I have this hunch that it probably doesn't happen too often. I think Jack is a very mature player as far as the competitive mentality, competitive mindset. I think Noli is the same. You look at some of the teams that Noli's been on, and he just fits into whatever team it is. I think he's probably a fantastic teammate. Jack's always kind of been a leader. And then from what I gather from listening to those two talk about Chronic, it sounds like he is a fantastic competitor himself. And so Gen.G, down 3-1, facing elimination, are able to mount that comeback and win in Game 7 after a Liquid timeout at that. So Gen.G on a run, looking good, playing good, feeling good. So let's go ahead and bounce over to the semi and grand finals. Now, I know that you can see all of this, so like right here, but we're going to talk about it. Moist finally stopped Team Secret. They were, as I said before, on a tear. Team Secret knocking out a few different teams in their path. But eventually, Moist was too much. And we got to talk about Moist for a second, because Moist is a team that many of the predictions that I saw, Moist is a team that was left out of the top 8. Moist was one of those teams that, like I said earlier, there are going to, at this level, at this stage of RLCS, with this many top-level teams that are capable of going deep in a tournament and even winning it, there are going to be some that don't make it. We just referenced G2, Falcons, Space Station Club. Those are 4 that I think a lot of people had in their top 8 that they're not here. Moist, a lot of people had them as that team that might barely miss out, right? They were one of those teams that, just people didn't have a lot of faith. And I understand it. I think losing Vatira is tough. Vatira is big shoes to fill. And Astral obviously is a fantastic player, and boy, did he prove that during the major. But it's still, there's some team chemistry, right? There's some things where you have player A, B, and C, and they fit really well, and you take away C and you plug in D. Well, it may not be the same thing. But Moist, they proved everyone wrong. That's what they did. They played really well, and something to make note of, at least for Rise and Joyo, they were queso at the beginning of last season, and they did not qualify for the fall major. They turn around in the winter and go crazy, and they're in the grand finals of the winter major. They're in the grand finals of the spring major, and they win. Now, they miss out of the grand finals at Worlds, but they went deep. And now here we are, 4th LAN straight attended, and 3 of those 4, Rise and Joyo, are in the finals. That is an incredible, incredible feat. And I think it just goes to show the confidence, unwavering confidence, that ability to believe in yourself. Because I think at a LAN, it's just harder at a LAN. It's not impossible, and a lot of players step up to the occasion, but it's harder to do that. And so I think Moist deserves a shout. They've been in the grand finals, like I said, 3 out of the last 4 majors. The 4 that they have qualified for, the 4 straight that they have qualified for, like I said, only missing out on the grand finals at Worlds. Incredible stuff. And Rise and Joyo, wow, I mean, seriously, absolutely insane. They just bust into the scene, straight to the top, and, they don't slow down. They just continue to perform well. So Moist take down Secret 4-2, and Secret, like I said, 2nd seed from Sam. They had to play a tiebreaker just to qualify to this event, right? They sent Crew back home. Crew could have been this team, and here they are, top 4. Then we got FaZe Clan and Gen.G, and right now it does seem as though Gen.G just kind of has FaZe's number. I mean, there's really not much more to say about it. FaZe did get that game 1 win, only a one goal victory. And then from there, Gen.G, they just did their thing. 4-3, 1-0, 2-1, and then 4-2. Gen.G finished things up in 5. And they continue that momentum on into the finals. And we have got to talk about the young man Chronic. Abjack deserves tons of praise. It's a tough situation to bounce from Europe over to North America. He doesn't even have like a settled in place yet. Same is true for Noli. Not on top of that, they didn't even scrim before they decided to create this team. Nolly and Jack, I think, had some options in EU and eventually settled on Chronic. And I don't even think they were able to really get a lot of practice. They believed in one another and they chased this dream, and they have worked very hard to make this come to life. And now they are reaping the benefits, reaping the rewards. And I can't say enough positive about those 2 players. But like I said, the one that I want to talk about here is Chronic. This young man he has been floating around since before he was even 15. All right. He was doing some 1v1s and some things like that. He's been floating around the bubble level. He's played in some community tournaments. He's played in some 2v2 things. He's done quite a bit of competition. But as far as RLCS goes, he's had minimal success. He's been on a few teams that have made some regionals throughout the last couple of seasons. And really, that's all he's got to show for it. And now he gets an opportunity to play against play alongside 2 other players that have experience, that are obviously very talented in their own right. And man, is he shining. I'm telling you, I'm so impressed with Chronic, and I cannot wait to see what the rest of this season holds for him. Now, I do want to talk about global strength. I cannot believe the strength of the emerging, developing regions, however you would like to refer to them. OCE, SAM, MENA, and APAC. APAC, they still got plenty of room to grow, but those players are getting better. They've had a few imports move over, and I think that's elevated the level of play just a bit. And I imagine after another season or 2, we might start seeing them be a little bit more competitive, maybe take some series off of other teams, and maybe push a little bit deeper into the events. But for now, APAC, they still got plenty of room to grow. We got MENA, who is a relatively new region as far as RLCS competition. And MENA, while they still only have 1 spot with the Falcons, they are developing a ton of young talent over there, or just even new talent. It doesn't have to just be young. But they've got quite a few teams and quite a few individual players that are very high level. We also have, unfortunately, Nupo, who was, or I should say, we do have Nupo, who was unfortunately banned for the 22-23 season for breaking RLCS rules and playing before he was eligible. But my point is, we have Falcons, who everybody already knows. We know who that is. They're incredible. They're going to continue to be incredible. But we've also got Rule 1. And Rule 1 is the twins were Wasson Clears alongside Natter. And they actually hosted a quick tournament with Power, Secret, and Pioneers. And guess who won it? Rule 1. There is tons of talent in MENA, and I really hope to see maybe another spot, maybe another 2 spots even in the future for these international events, because it's a shame that only 1 team gets to go. from that region. MENA, lots of talent. Falcons, while they didn't have the greatest event, they've already shown us in the past, being in the finals in London in the spring major last season. They've already showed us they can do it. They just got to show up on game day on that weekend. And then we got South America and OCE, which have obviously been around a bit longer, being introduced to RLCS a few seasons back, a few years back, I guess, at this point. But now things are starting to pan out. And as I mentioned, Sam, we got Furia. They were incredible all last season. They moved to NA. They've had a little bit of a speed bump here at the beginning, but they're still a great team, and those players are still some of the best players on planet Earth. We got Complexity. Same situation, but rewinded a year, the exact same thing. They get to NA. They actually start really hot and then kind of cool off towards the end of the season, but nevertheless, still some incredible players. And while they are playing in North America, and right now they're in the North American RLCS ecosystem, they are still players that came from South America, and I want to talk about them because the South American region is just pumping out talent. Lost with the club, KV1 with Secret. They've been proving themselves and showing on the main stage just how dangerous the South American region is, and I expect this to continue. I don't think this is going to slow down. You got some players over there now. Royales, I think the name is In Game. Let's see. Maybe I can find it right quick. Let me just take a look. There it is. In Game. Let me pop them up. Oh, sorry about that. Yes, Royales, Brad, and Alpi. And I'm sorry if I say those wrong, but that team is another one to watch out for. Crew is playing well. And then we obviously got Secret and Club, who we're familiar with. And so I just wanted to say that we're looking at, and then OCE. We cannot forget OCE. Power kind of bringing in some old talent with Torsos, Amphis, Fever, the Mechanical Wizards. We got Pioneers, the young team. Maybe a little bit of adversity here in this first major, but plenty of prowess as well. We saw that on display throughout all of last season with their international performances. But with that, I just wanted to, point out where the strength or where we're at strength-wise around the globe. It's getting stronger, and it's getting, it's just getting more fun as a consumer. So, exciting times to be a Rocket League esports fan. Now, the RLCS fall split. We've got new players popping up. We've got new teams popping up. We've got players and teams from regions that are not new, but they're going deeper. Things are constantly and quickly changing. We can run through this right quick. This is the current world region spots for the top 8 that auto-qualify to Worlds. All right? We got NA1, EU1, SAM1, currently in the 3rd spot, tied with NA2. EU2 is in there, and then we have NA3, and now we have EU3 and EU4 taking those 2 final 7 and 8 spots. So right now, Europe has the most spots in the top 8 with 4. Sam snagging one of those top 8 spots. We're gonna have a battle between MENA, probably NA4, OCE1, and potentially, depending on how they perform later on, potentially even Sam 2. NA5 and EU5, I think they've got a tough fight ahead. Not impossible by any means, but a tough fight ahead with all the talent around the world. So that's where the current eight auto qualification spots are for Worlds. And obviously, the more spots that you gain as far as auto qualification will allow you to bring more teams from your region to that wildcard event at the end of the season. Right now, I think this is this is Europe. Okay, excuse me. So there we are. So a lot of rapid improvements on an individual basis for players. We've got new players popping up. Chronic, obviously incredible. Cash, EXO, first RLCS LAN. Obviously not brand new to the scene, but new talent at the international stage. We've got Team Secret, a new team, right? KV1 bouncing off of the club from last season. We've got BIMS bouncing to the club. And so, like I said, there's lots of things changing. Obviously, we've got the whole Gen.G situation with Noli and Jack moving to the North American region. One way or another, right now, it's a lot of fun to watch RLCS. It's a lot of fun to keep up with Rocket League esports. And, I expect the rest of the season to be a treat. The fall split is done. We are 1/3 of the way through the season. The fall is over. We're going to move into winter. That begins January 27th. Should be a European event up first. But that is going to conclude the show for today. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you next time.